Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Healthcare Heroes, where we recognize our dedicated frontline staff and managers. I'm Sandy Potter, joining you today from my home studio, along with Masonicare President and CEO, JP Venoit, and Lena, our receptionist from our Masonicare at Ashlar Village Assisted Living community. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Lena, let's start with you. Your role requires you to wear many hats on a daily basis. Perhaps that's never been more true than during the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you tell everyone what you've been doing to assist our residents, their family members, and your fellow coworkers during this time?
Okay, well, mostly what we've been doing a lot of delivering of packages and mail to the residents' apartments, along with their newspapers, usually in the morning. That was more of a morning, early afternoon type of procedure. And then if like a family member would call in and they would say that a certain resident was having problems with their telephones, we would call our rep at Frontier or whatever the company would be, and they would help us out, always give us the best service they could to get the telephones up and running again. And another huge thing was, I know toilet paper was missing everywhere in the universe between the whole pandemic, was never an issue here. They always had toilet paper. It was always delivered to their door, no shortages, and that was a huge deal to every resident here. Then in certain situations too, like when residents were transitioning to different apartments, I would help actually pack up the apartments and physically like move furniture from one apartment to another, which was very interesting, different things to do, but we all work as a great team together. So that makes the day go nice and smooth.
It really sounds like you were acting as a connection, a go-between for between the residents and their family members during this time where they weren't allowed to physically be together. How was that for you?
Well, I was like a front desk, like triage. I would triage like the problems to like different departments or different staff members that could help with the problems. So if a family member would call in, I would like get all the information from them, and then I would triage it over to the correct departments.
I'm sure they really appreciated having you there to do that when they couldn't physically be there for their loved one.
Exactly. And I didn't help with this directly, but a lot of FaceTime calls went on, setting up appointments to do FaceTime calls with the residents and their family members.
It's an awful lot of stuff and a big job that's much appreciated. And JP, you always tell all of us to never be too busy for the little things, because that's what makes it such a difference. And Lena's actions are a perfect example.
Lena was the jack of all trades and has been the jack of all trades. She's been with the organization for quite some time, and the residents and staff have come to appreciate her as being the jack of all trades. And as you said earlier, it's the little things that make such a difference. And you can tell through what Lena has experienced through this pandemic that she's had to adapt. She's had to do things that weren't necessarily in her job description. But they were things that she knew was the right thing to do for our residents. And that commitment really has kind of permeated through the rest of the staff up at Ashlar Village and Pond Ridge, because they're really doing so many things that just 3 months ago they weren't doing. And that stress and that anxiety level has been elevated, but they've been able to kind of navigate through that anxiety and stress to make sure that our residents aren't at that same level of stress. And Lena, hearing you really tells me that the residents are in good hands. And that's really what it all comes down to, us making sure that we're doing the right thing for our residents. And those little things do make a difference to those residents and the family members who, at this time can't necessarily visit their loved ones the way that they used to. And knowing that there's a familiar face in Lena and the rest of the staff being able to really make those differences, it's amazing. And I'm humbled to be able to be here listening to what Lena and the rest of the team have done at Pond Ridge and Ashlar Village. It really has made a difference and has made Masonicare who it is today. So thank you, Lena, and thank you to all the staff for everything that you've done.
Absolutely. You know, Lena, JP says you're a jack of all trades. You were described by your manager as Wonder Woman, who, and she said you make even the hardest day look easy and you do it all with a smile. We're curious, what's the best part about your job?
Well, there's two best parts, actually. The first one is, of course, working with so many wonderful residents. It's so sweet to hear their stories, and we share recipes and all different stuff like that, which just when they just give you that one certain smile that just makes your day, like every time. So that's the best part of my job. And then another awesome part is that I work with the best team ever. They make the hardest days just go by so simply. We all work so great as a team together. So we get the job done. We all work so well together, and it's a beautiful thing.
You are the glue that's holding the team together through all the
Thank you.
jack of all trades, having that glue that cements really everything together has really made Pond Ridge and Ashlar Village the way it is, just on some of the things that you've done.
Thank you.
Well, it's just wonderful. We want to really thank you both for sharing time with us today. And Lena, thank you again for your unending kindness and compassion toward everyone that you encounter. As JP says, you are definitely Masonicare strong.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone watching at home. I'm Sandy Potter. We hope you'll join us next week for another edition of Healthcare Heroes. Until then, be well.